This tape will self-destruct in 5 seconds. Good luck.
Anti-Afro Spingallies. Indeed, this is a mission possible because it involves Umar Johnson, who's extremely reckless. What is going on, folks? If you look at this post right here that I had on the community wall, I think it might be cut off here at the top. But basically, Umar's desperation for money is simply hastened his downfall, which has already been in the process. Do not be fooled because Umar Johnson is booking hyena yelps that all is good. All is not good. This is not the only thing going on with Umar Johnson that he's not letting you know. So here's Umar Johnson's pattern. When Umar gets the most nervous, he will post this kind of information. And what is it? There is legal representation, attorneys for Brett Favre, who is an NFL Hall of Famer who played for most of his career with the Green Bay Packers. Undeniable, stellar quarterback. There's no question. And beloved. We know he's had issues going on off the field, but there is no doubt this is a person who has arms, teeth, legs, and muscles that move around, that get things done. There's no question about that, people. So what happened is that Brett Favre got caught up in a scandal where he allegedly received, I think, close to $5 million to give some motivational speeches in association with a social service agency in Mississippi. They say that the speaking engagements never went forward. And I want to thank whoever it was in Mississippi who alerted the authorities and filed complaints to get this in the public eye. This should not happen, regardless of what went down. Misunderstanding, that's not even the issue. It was reported. It needs to be reported. It doesn't matter who you are. You cannot take money for services you didn't perform. We have someone else in these YouTube streets that does that. Umar Johnson and Dumpsy D. Durrell, the Medicare defrauder. At any rate, this video is primarily about Umar. And what I'm going to predict lies ahead. So it was reported to the authorities. And word is that Brett Favre paid back the $5 million, although there is some dispute about interest that is still due. We can be sure of one thing. Brett Favre is not waiting around to see where the next meal's coming from. Apparently, he invested wisely during the course of his NFL career and after. So he's not going to be destitute on the street. It's not a matter of life and death. So again, thank you to whoever made that report. It needed to be reported. It was the right thing to do. Nobody should expect anyone else to take a hit because financial malfeasance went down. Now, let me tell you my concern about this whole scenario with Umar Johnson, supposedly based on what Brett Favre's attorneys have put in this letter. Umar received a letter. It's not a cease and desist letter. And I chopped part of the letter up so you can see, here's the very top, showing you where it's from a law firm that has multiple locations around our good old US of A. The law firm is Kasowitz, Benson, Torres, LLP. They have offices in Atlanta, Houston, Los Angeles. Miami, Newark, San Francisco, Silicon Valley, and Washington, D.C. So this letter is based out of New York. And listen, they are concerned, and they put Umar Johnson on notice that they want him to gather documentation as it relates to Brett Favre. So I'm going to go ahead and read this letter in case you're driving, you're not able to read it yourself. Here goes. Sent to Umar Johnson's P.O. Box, and the regarding line says document retention notice, public statements concerning Brett Favre. It says, Dear Dr. Johnson, we have been retained by Brett L. Favre to investigate potential legal claims against you arising from certain public statements you have made about Mr. Favre. If you have legal counsel in connection with this matter, please forward this communication to them. In view of this investigation and potential litigation, we hereby demand that you preserve and not destroy, conceal, alter, or otherwise spoliate any and all documents and information in your possession, custody, or control, regardless of where such documents and information reside, including, without limitation, electronic files and other data generated by and or stored on computers, storage media, or other electronic devices, emails, voicemails, text messages, tweets, social media posts that refer or relate in any way to any of your public statements about Mr. Favre since May 4th, 2020. Failure to comply with this notice or otherwise to preserve such documents and information or other relevant evidence may result in our client seeking sanctions and other relief against you for spoliation of actual or potential evidence should any litigation arise. Nothing contained in or omitted from this letter is a waiver of any of our client's rights and remedies, all of which are expressly reserved. Sincerely, Daniel R. Benson. Okay, people, on my fingertips, I have absolutely no information as to specifically what Umar Johnson stated about Brett Favre other than to express, oh my goodness, I can't believe he stole the money. I don't have details. I'm going to be looking into it because I want to give an estimation of what I think they're going for. I am very interested in learning that because Umar Johnson can't just give an opinion about something. Umar Johnson is a punchline pimp. Umar Johnson is a soundbite bum. So Umar Johnson's going to go over and above someone giving a standard opinion about what they think about a situation. So I can very easily see how Umar Johnson would give commentary on this and take it to the hilt. He would go off into a tangent. Now, at one point, Brett Favre got caught up in a scandal where he supposedly sent, excuse my language, dick pics to people. I could see Umar Johnson, this is his speed, ratcheting that up and accusing Brett Favre of engaging in criminal behavior. See, Umar Johnson does that kind of stuff. I could see Umar Johnson ratcheting it up and calling Brett Favre by a name that shouldn't be called. And we've seen that happen here in these YouTube streets. I could see Umar Johnson doing stuff like this. And I bet you something along those lines is what we have going on. Because it's very different. And again, I don't know the details of these dick pics, but I did hear that these people were engaged in consensual exchange of photos. So if someone's engaged in consensual exchange of photos, you can't label this person a sexual deviant or a child molester or a rapist. We know people love to level those accusations, especially against our people. I'm not saying Umar Johnson actually said this, but I will bet something along those lines is among the things that they're concerned about. Now, just because someone is famous, it doesn't mean they lose their rights as far as slander and defamation and libel. We've seen right here in these YouTube streets, Tasha K is $4.8 million in debt to Cardi B. And she apparently still hasn't learned her lesson. That's a whole nother video. But these people mean business. They know how to take care of their own. And if they know how to take care of their own, I mean, white folks, what makes you think they're going to hesitate when it comes to handling one of us? So I'm going to be finding out what Umar Johnson said about Brett Favre. I'm going to be looking into that, and I'm going to come back and give you my opinion. But what I also want to say is I was appalled when I heard Umar Johnson was speaking on Brett Favre in a general sense with respect to misappropriation of funds. Are you serious, people? Yes, it's a free country, but are you serious? Are you really freaking serious? Umar Johnson is speaking on someone who he says is engaged in financial malfeasance and a lack of accountability as to what happened to money? Are we on the same page, people? You can't be serious. But apparently Umar Johnson was serious enough to make sure he put his 2 cents in. Umar Johnson knew black on black attacks was no longer carrying him. He knew if he had to keep generating funds, he needed to up the ante. He had to really go after the white folks. Before, he was just swiping at white people. Oh, this and that. No, he's getting specific now because he needs to demonstrate, to put on a show to our people that he's willing to take on the white man. But Umar Johnson is not ready. I don't care what Umar Johnson says about, I'm ready to go to court with Brett. No, you're not ready to go to court with someone's worth. They said he's worth $100 million. Umar Johnson doesn't exactly keep all the documentation of money that came in. He just gets the money and spends it. But there are avenues to access his financial records. And if he took in money based on what he was saying about Brett Favre and his legal team considers it actionable, there goes their right to access Umar Johnson's financial institutions, his Cash App, his PayPal, wherever, his Zelle. He says he has Zelle now. They're going to get into all of that. And they're going to see exactly how much money Umar Johnson raked in lying on Brett Favre, if this is their claim. Obviously, they're claiming this. Otherwise, this letter would not have been written. They're not ordering a cease and desist. They are going to investigate. And I personally believe they already have conducted a preliminary investigation. And boy, oh boy, even if they don't prevail, even if they don't get an audience, a judge, to allow litigation to go forward, you don't think that these attorneys in all these different states are going to turn the heat on Umar in other respects? I mean, how the hell can he sit around and accuse anybody of misusing funds? It's going to prompt the powers that be to take a closer look at Umar. Now you have the white folks digging in his background. I understand Umar Johnson is now on Wikipedia. Do you think Umar Johnson is happy about being on Wikipedia? Are you serious, people? Umar Johnson's not happy about being on Wikipedia. The last thing Umar Johnson wants, white folks digging around in his background. No, people, that is the last thing. Because Umar Johnson is not able to provide documentation of what he's been doing. If he was, GoFundMe would not have returned the money. There is a lot more to find out about this case, and you had better believe I'm going to be on the JOB. Now, let me tell you something else. You see Stephen A. Smith's picture up here. I don't mean to ignore him. I'm actually going to deal with his situation in another video because Umar Johnson made some statements to Stephen Smith, and he did not take those statements lightly. I'm going to get into that in another video because I want to make sure I focus squarely on this issue. It is Umar Johnson's worst nightmare for the white folks to go digging around in his background when they find out GoFundMe refunded money because Umar Johnson did not follow through on what he stated he would do. Umar Johnson has a cease and desist order, not a letter, an order by a government entity with subpoena powers to cease collecting money for that abandoned bomb shelter that he calls FDMG. Umar Johnson has not listened. So that is coursing through the system. That requires collection of documentation. People, come on. There are people out there who really do believe this is how our justice system works, that something happens and then the next day there's a trial. I'm being facetious, right? No, something happens. There needs to be an investigation. You have to look into things. And sometimes that can take time, people. It doesn't always happen overnight. What happens when people are engaging in malfeasance, they get complacent. They think nothing's going to happen to them. They can keep doing what they're doing, and I'll worry about it if it ever happens. Well, now it's happening. And what I mean by that, it's here for the masses to observe and speculate on. It has been going on for a while, people. Umar Johnson's downfall has gradually continued. Umar just hasn't been saying anything about it. His desperation for money has hastened the downfall. It's a point of no return. He had to start speaking openly about white folks, but I am positive, based on how Umar Johnson is, he crossed the line. And I'm going to get into that with the Stephen A. Smith video. He crossed the line there as well. But I'm going to make sure I keep you updated. I'm going to do my research and evaluate what Umar Johnson has been saying about Brett Favre, listen to it, and I'll come back and give you additional evaluation of the position I believe Brett Favre's legal team is in with respect to Umar Johnson. In the meantime, people, you know the drill. Buyer beware.